Hey, what's going on, everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics, and hold on, get my screen back there. Okay, got another video for you today, and this one's kind of out of order. I was supposed to do one on page layouts. That'll be coming up next. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today, I typically don't use Sketchbook Pro for inking, but here's a pic I drew of the old webhead, Spidey, one of my favorite characters to draw, actually. I'm going to do a lot more to it. There's going to be a cityscape in the background. I'm actually going to draw that digitally. This started off as a pencil drawing. What I like to do in Sketchbook is actually I kind of have to do it this way. I like to work when I ink over a blue line. The original pencil drawing was done on 10 by 14 Bristol board. That's some of my pencil work. Hope you dig it. But at any rate, what I do is I bring it into Sketchbook. Normally I draw 95% of my work digitally now, but every now and then I like to draw something on paper, keep the feel, it still feels very nostalgic, and it gives you some originals to take to the show, stuff like that. But I hate doing backgrounds on paper anymore. So essentially what I'm going to do, and you'll see the finished product if you go to my DeviantArt, you'll be able to see this with the background. But uh, my workflow as far as Sketchbook is I'll drop a blue layer in. I just basically paint a solid layer over top, and then I change the uh, overlay to, or the color mode to screen. Then if I want to dull down that blue, you drop it here. Make sure you don't drop it here because it actually just turns it more to a blue-gray, because obviously it's letting the pencil show through here. So you turn your original pencils down and you get a nice light kind of blue line, and then start your inking process. I traditionally use Mango Studio 5 to ink, but I'll show you the reason why I'm actually liking this just a little bit, maybe just for this piece, or who knows, I don't know if I'll use it more in the future for this or not. But um, I kind of started dinking around with these settings over here. I've got a hard pencil selected, which I'm actually getting really nice ink lines with, and these are my settings for the brush. So I'm not going to go and explain a lot of these. It's pretty basic, and what you see is what you get. But if you pause it right there, you can do a mimic of these settings, and you're going to come up with a pretty nice inking brush. So there's that. I'll fly through that because you could just pause it if you're trying to grab all that information. The other thing that I like a lot is this right here. I was kind of struggling with the idea that I had to keep going up here, moving my screen around, doing the interactive zoom, doing my rotation, because I like to do downward pulls when I do all these line work. And by the way, I'm using a Cintiq, but a good portion of this was done with my other tablet, because I'll take it to work with me and stuff like that, and I get some breaks from my day of doing custom graphics and stuff like that for people. So um, right through here, this was all done with my other tablet, so you really can't see the difference. I can't anyways. I think that maybe if you got really close you could, but you start getting the hang of it. So if you got one of the other tablets, don't feel bad, just work with it. So at any rate, one of the other things I like a lot about Sketchbook Pro in the workflow is this. If you hold the space bar, it brings up that icon up here, right, your zoom. Well, this is what makes it really quick. Hold spacebar, zoom in. Say I want to get to these lines right here. Hold spacebar, rotate, rotate, get it to where I need it to be. Hold spacebar, move it, let go. It's right back to the brush. I'm ready to go. So I literally didn't have to go up here. I didn't have to take my hand off the keyboard. I'm only using spacebar and I'm on my brush. So without having to change the size, which you use your bracket keys for that, which I talk about in other videos, and that's works with almost all the softwares now. And then bam, I'm off to doing my line work. I kind of feather my lines, which I believe everybody does, but I guess the only other real way to do it is if you're one of the people that like to hold the brush and do one line and then slightly let off the pressure. I can't really do that, or I don't know that I can't. Maybe I just haven't trained myself to do it that way, so I never like saying I can't do anything, um, but maybe I can. But so like spacebar, move it around, zoom in and out. I mean, really fast, and I'm just using those motions, and I kind of feel like when I start really moving, I can kind of get some speed going here, and that's really important with inking, because you know, it can be time consuming if you're not getting a nice flow going. Um, and you see I'm like drawing in lines that aren't there in the drawing. This is my drawing, so I can get away with that, but you should still be able to do that with inking somebody else's work too. You want a certain amount of freedom there so that you can uh, you know drop in your own artwork and your own style and try to make the piece better. So like something like this, I'll control Z if you need to go back. Another thing I like about Sketchbook, it's got the control Z's, which are important. um, but again, I'll kind of feather the line here, and then I'll just do these little line breaks to the end. It just adds a little bit of different character to it. Something right here, if I'm trying to show the I don't know what part of the chest muscle you call this, but if I'm trying to show that depth, I might do a few little lines like that and a couple going the other way just for some shading. And then when you pull back, it gives a little bit more depth than just a flat line there. Sometimes I'll do these little points off the bigger blocked shadow like that. Just kind of texture that a bit. Like right here. Excuse me, I know I'm just talking basic stuff here, but I'm trying to explain some of the things I might think about when I'm inking. You see a lot of these videos and it's just somebody speeding through the inking process, which, don't get me wrong, that's awesome to watch. I love watching those, and they give you a lot of inspiration, but I'm trying to give you a little bit of insight into what I think and what I do when I do this. So like right there, that's kind of how I draw my lines. I'm trying to give a little bit thicker line to the top of the head here, even though a lot of times you'll see people do quite the opposite. But the reasoning for that is I'm trying to make the head kind of pop out. I want it to look like it's in front of the shoulders, so that's why I'm doing the thicker line up here, thinner at the bottom where it already has the shadow. But a lot of people, when they're trying to signify up here that there's a light source, you take the eraser, turn it around like this, kind of do some breaks in the lines like so, and it looks like a highlight or a light source. But for this purpose, like I said, I want the headpiece, or the head shape, to stick out there and show some depth. So let's see, get down to this area. Another thing I like is with this setup, blocking in the, again, bracket keys to size the brush down interactively. Oh, no wonder, I'm on my eraser there. Knew something was wrong. Okay, so the shape of the leg here, I'll just kind of sketch that in like so. And I try to make sure there's some good line variance too. Like, you don't want one consistent shaped line around your character. If something's closer to the viewer or the camera, there should be a thicker line, showcasing that or bringing that out. And then just all around, good variance around the entire character just makes it look more alive or gives it more style. And sometimes you can just flip the brush around and clean up some of your lines like this. And there's still a little hiccup there, but I'm going to leave that. I think that looks cool. And ultimately, that's the other thing too, is that if something looks cool and you dig it, then leave it in there and work with it. So this, the heel's coming real close, so I'll put a nice fat line around there. Try to push that towards the viewer. And probably the one little thing I don't like about this brush setting, but it's good, I can work with it. If you see I'm getting those sharp points a little bit too strong at the edge, that might be my pressure setting within my Wacom settings. I do have mine set more to a firm pressure because I bear down pretty hard on my pens, so I just want to make sure that I can get that nice thin line. So that might be something to do with my setting, where if I have firm pressure set, it's going to go to that thin line quicker and more immediate, versus where if I had a softer touch, I might be able to adjust that the other way. So that's really going to depend on how how your hand pressure is when you do this type of stuff. So you need to play with those settings. You see, I'm not staying entirely true to the existing line work. I've actually got it pretty light where I just use it more as a, of a set of guidelines versus, something. I'm not trying to trace the lines, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Trying to add a bit of style and change it up a bit as I draw them in. One of the things I do too when I'm drawing Spidey here is I always keep the line work really basic. So if you look at some of my other drawings, you'll see a lot more cross hatching than what I'm doing here. If you notice, I'm barely cross hatching at all. That's the extent of my cross hatching right there. And the reason being is because when I go to do all that webbing, I don't want it to conflict with, you know, if I'm doing a bunch of cross hatching, then it's going to get pretty messy when I start doing the webbing to the character. So I keep it pretty easy to understand and basic. Yeah, and the other thing I like about this is it's easy to fill in your blacks with this setup. And I'll show you that here in a second. The other thing is I try to remember what I was thinking when I drew it, because a lot of these lines are just, you know, kind of shorthand for, telling myself what to do when I go ahead and ink it, because I always ink my own work. So a lot of times I'll leave myself little notes in my artwork. If I was doing this for another artist, I'd probably draw it even tighter than this. And I don't know though, because honestly, there's a lot to be said for inkers that are building a relationship with the inker and then leaving some of the stuff loosely drawn for interpretation. So I think that's why you see some artists that work so well together, like you know Jim Lee and Scott Williams, and you can tell that those guys can just basically read each other's minds when it comes to drawing and inking, because they've worked so long and so well together. So but you just get a really nice thick to thin line. And I guess the thing that made me like this, I just kind of threw it in, threw the picture up here, and tried messing with it for a minute, because I do like Sketchbook. I use a lot of Mango Studio, and I even use a little bit of Photoshop for, well, I use Photoshop for all my digital painting, but never for inking. So I was like, I know some people do use this for their inking. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot, even though I haven't always had the best luck with it. I think it's got a great brush engine for sketching and drawing and stuff like that. Um, but I started playing with the settings, and I got this feel of the brush, and it really reminds me of just that. It feels like I'm using a a Winsor Newton Sable, or like a brush, like not not doesn't feel like a micron or anything like that. It's got a nice flow to it, thick to thin, real easy, kind of a watery feel. It's one of the things I've liked about Sketchbook Pro from the start. It has a very organic feel to it, and I guess ever since I figured out this little shortcut command for holding spacebar and moving the screen around really fast, I like it a lot, because I can move quickly through this, and that's times of the essence for me in doing this stuff. Especially because, like, this piece, I'm not getting paid on this one. This is just a passion piece, or whatever, piece of fan art or whatever. So if I was getting paid to draw Spidey, then it'd be a different story, but that apparently isn't the way right now. So one day I hope. I don't care. I just love drawing this stuff. I draw it either way. So I've done it ever since I was a kid. I'm not stopping now. So let's see how, a lot of times I'll pull back and see how some of those lines look, if they work or not. Like these ones aren't that interesting, but that's fine, because this is kind of a spot black area. So I'll drop in a line like that. I'll make sure all my lines are connected. Grab the paint bucket tool, drop that in, zoom back in, grab my brush or pencil really, just hit the parts that it missed, but it usually fills in pretty well. That's another thing I like a lot, you know, without having to mess with settings and stuff like that. It's got a pretty good um, ability to find the you know, find the edges and drop it in like that. So but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, and you know, it's coming out decent. You know, if you want, you can check back and see the finished version. This isn't really a straight, you know, I'm not going to work this all the way to the end and time lapse or anything like that. I just wanted to explain a couple quick things about Sketchbook Pro, and you know, let you know about it if if you want to use it. You know, it's a little bit more accessible for some people. I think that's why I felt the need to share this, because I've had people comment on my stuff and they're like, you know, what do you use? And I'm like, well, I got Mango Studio, Photoshop, blah blah blah. Like, oh yeah, I can't afford those or something. And I often feel bad about that. It's like, I'm not trying to brag and say I got this, and this. I've been fortunate to be able to, you know, have the tools I have at my disposal. But one thing that's good about Sketchbook is it's very affordable. I think even the copy I picked up was like 60 bucks, and you know, I mean, shoot, you can go mow some lawns and pick that cheddar up, you know. So I just think that you know, it's cool that it does this much for that price, because you know, you can pull off some serious good looking comic book stuff, you know, and not have to drop $200-300 for your software package. And you know, you can start with the Wacom and tools. Like I said, a lot of this, I want to say this whole area right here was done with it. And you know, if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm honestly, I work with the Cintiq also. So if anything, I've probably gotten lazy from using that to where my abilities with the other one aren't as strong. So you don't need the Cintiq, and you can pick up an Intuo series for, God, I want to say you can pick one up on eBay or something like that for probably 50 bucks or maybe 100 for a nicer model. It's got the 2048 pressure levels of sensitivity or whatever. So you know, just do what you can, get what you can, and make it work, you know. And you know, well, the sketch was obviously done on paper, so you know, you can go pick yourself up a pencil at, you know, the pencil store and get to work. So at any rate, hopefully this has helped you. Be sure to like and subscribe and share the videos, and check out my channel. I've also got a new website, robertmarzullo.com, which promotes my art and my illustration work that I'm trying to get out there. So if you can, share, like, subscribe, and check out the DeviantArt, and be sure to come back and see the finished piece of Spidey here. I'd love to show it to you. So thanks for watching. Keep having fun. Keep drawing. Take care.